On this episode of Locked On Angels, our Halos get a walk-off win from Nolan Schanuel last night. Their third straight series win. They're 6-0 against the A's this year. That's what they need to do. We've got 5 takeaways, 5 things you need to know from the game last night, and we're sharing them today. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, thanks for making this walk-off edition of Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. One of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, I'm feeling good after a walk-off win. It's our 4th season as the host of Locked On Angels, talking Angels baseball with you every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. On today's show, of course, we're going to talk about last night's game, but we're also discussing the White Sox doing something that maybe the Angels should think about doing. We'll share what that is. Plus, the Halo hitters have been hot since May 1st, and we'll talk about their stats entering last night's game. What's the reason for all that hot hitting? We'll share, but first, let's get into last night's game. The 5 things you need to know and discuss as the Angels win this one 2-1 in extra innings. Mike, take it away.
Yeah, Nolan Schanuel walked it off with an RBI single, his 3rd hit of the night, moving the Halos to 32 and 34. They've won 3 straight series, Jonathan. That's good news. Again, win series, not winning streaks, right? Yeah. We want to win series, so let's keep doing that.
You know, Nolan Schanuel was just sitting there in my fantasy league, so I picked him up a couple of days ago, and it's been paying off big time for sure to have him on my roster. It's been
you
great.
Are the king of sleepers when it comes to those leagues.
Chase Mydroth, everybody, go get him on the White Sox. He's fantastic. He's like a Nolan Schanuel for the White Sox.
All right, how about some takeaways from this game last night? First, John, we got to talk about Jose Soriano. He had it, or he was him, as the kids say, right? He was fantastic last night. And we know that so far this season, every time Soriano takes the mound, he's either got a feel for his pitches right out of the gate, and we've talked about that on this show, or sometimes he just doesn't. And when he doesn't, you can tell that he's off, and he ends up overthrowing some of his pitches. He'll overthrow the sinker. He'll overthrow some of his off-speed pitches. Mm-hmm. But last night, John, he was on top of the world. He was fantastic. And against the A's just could not do anything against him. Soriano did everything right. He put the sinker where he wanted. Everything played off the sinker, and he had the A's totally off balance in the 7 innings that he pitched.
You knew right out of the gate that he had the feel for all of his pitches from pitch number 1. When he put the sinker where he wanted it, I went, oh, there's the one that we want.
This is going to be a good game.
Yeah, this will be a good Soriano start. And Mike, takeaway number 2 was that Jose Soriano was electric.
He's electric.
Took a no-hitter into the 6th inning. Mm-hmm. Now, he gave up a leadoff walk. He had already given up a walk at that point, so that's why it was a no-hitter. 2 outs later, Brent Rooker hit an RBI double to score the first run of the game and the first A's hit of the game. Ironically, and they mentioned this on the broadcast, Brent Rooker, who I forgot was with the Twins,
right?
He was the one to break up Patrick Sandoval's no-hitter in Minnesota.
What a jerk.
Back in 2021. I know, jerk. But Mike, listen to this. 16 swings and misses, or whiffs, on the sinker.
Wow.
4 on the knuckle curve, 1 on the slider, 1 on the 4-seam fastball, which he ramped up to like 100 miles an hour when he needed to. Listen to this. 46 called strikes plus whiffs. That's a 42% called strike plus whiff rate for Jose Soriano. The final line for him, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 12 Ks, a career high, and 110 pitches Also,
wow,
a career high. But takeaway number 3, Mike, Soriano doesn't get the decision in this one, does he?
Yeah, the offense just could not do anything and could not deliver for him against Mitch Spence.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, why is it that guys that are not really known just own the Angels?
He
just
always
feels like,
owns the Angels. It's
it feels like this
ridiculous.
guy, it feels like this guy is just dominant against the Halos. And he's mostly pitched out of the bullpen this year. But Johnny, the Angels did have a chance against him, which brings us to takeaway number 4. And there's a couple of optics that we're going to talk about in regards to Mike Trout and Joe Adell. But overall, John, it was just a frustrating game offensively until the end. It was frustrating because Soriano was cruising and doing everything that you want a pitch to contact guy to do. He did, however, get a lot of strikeouts in this game, 12 total, had a lot of swings and misses. John, he was just on it. And it's a situation like this where the offense needs to do something. And what was frustrating for me, John, is his manager didn't even help him out. Like there wasn't a hey, lay a bunt down here, or look how they're playing you here. It just felt like the approach was the same every single time they went up there. And luckily they didn't strike out 10 times like they have in other games. But it just didn't feel like any sort of adjustments were being made against Mitch Spence. And that's frustrating. It's like by the 4th, 5th inning, if you haven't done much and you're going 3rd time through the lineup, it's time to go, hey guys, slap that ball.
Yeah.
Hey,
shake it up a little bit.
Yes, right? Hey, lay down a bunt. Maybe you're not going to actually bunt, but act like you're going to bunt, right? Like, let's get that defense moving. Let's get them thinking a little bit out there. That's what it really felt like. It felt like the A's, specifically Mitch Spence, didn't have to think about what he was throwing, didn't have to think about where he was throwing it, because he knew what the Angels were doing and he had figured it out early on, and there was no pivot or no adjustment back. And then obviously in the 10th inning, we saw a bit of a pivot and an adjustment, all because Nolan Schanuel decided to pivot and adjust off of the bullpen. And I don't want to give credit to Mitch Spence. He pitched really well, but it's just frustrating when this offense is just doing well and grinding and scoring runs. And we're going to talk about them in the next segment. But then last night, they just did the same thing every time they went up to the plate.
Yeah. And you mentioned the optics around Mike Trout and Joe Adell. This is our 4th takeaway. So here's what we mean by that. Zach Neto led off the 6th inning with a double. Nolan Schanuel walks. Then you get Mike Trout to the plate, Mike. And probably the worst possible outcome. He grounds into a double play, which puts another card in the pocket of the Mike Trout isn't clutch crowd.
Yeah.
And in a moment like that, when you have the chance to pick up Jose Soriano, who just gave up his one and only run, that one really stings. And so the optics around Mike Trout not being clutch, well, people were proven right last night because and that was a terrible outcome, a double play.
Yeah. And third base, first base, double play too.
Yeah. Couldn't beat it out either because he's got the bad wheel, right? Yeah. And so he's not able to hustle like Mike Trout normally does when he tries to beat those plays out. So again, the optics around Mike Trout and also the optics around Joe Adell in the outfield. Now the double off of Rooker's bat, to be fair, had a 35% catch probability. Okay. So yes, this was not the easiest catch to make. And Joe Adell laid out for it, fell short, right? But our buddy over at Talkin' Halos, Jared Timms, tweeted a picture, I think of his television screen, of where Joe Adell was when the ball connected with the bat. And here's what Jared said. This is a rough jump for Joe Adell on that hit. It was a tough play, but the ball here in the picture that he had is out of the picture, and he hasn't even taken his first step yet. He said, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, the Angels Stadium has to be the toughest place to see the ball off the bat in the major league. So again, it's 35% catch probability, not great for any defender. Yeah. But the optics around Joe Adell in center field, once again, were not great. And so again, Trout and Adell, the optics around them in this game were not fantastic.
John, Trout's OPS in the 3rd spot is like around 600, and his OPS in the 5th and 6th spot is over 1,000.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it's time to move him back to where he was. I think he's beneficial back where he was. I know that he's not getting the most at bats that you would want your star to get. I think that he gets good pitches for Ward and Soler ahead of him. And he was really good down there. And I wonder if a new perspective and a new place in the lineup is something that he needs just to shake him up a bit.
The argument that was made on the broadcast, the TV broadcast, was that Trout being behind Neto and Schanuel is a benefit to Neto and Schanuel.
Yeah.
And so you could make the argument, well, maybe that's true. They see better pitches because Trout's coming up behind them. But then just like you said, with Ward and Soler in front of him, they get better pitches. And what did they both do? They stunk last night. Soler and Ward stunk last night because they don't have Trout behind them. And I kind of feel like Neto and Schanuel were doing just fine at 1 and 2 before Trout was batting third behind them. So I think you're right. I think Trout in the 5th spot. If you're going to make him DH full time, which is the thing that I think that they need to be doing, then get freaky with it. Put him in the 5th spot. Like let's do all the things that we've been talking about. Well, eventually Trout's going to have to DH only. Well, eventually Trout's not going to be in the 3rd spot.
Do it.
Just do it now. Do it in 2025 because we're there. We've arrived.
It seems like as we talk about these things, the Angels are not hesitant to make these moves. We've talked about that on a show last week. Like who's really in charge? Like is Perry making phone calls and going, bro, Wash, we got to do this. So I wouldn't be surprised if the lineup comes out today and Trout is moved because they seem like they're moving quicker on some of those decisions. So I'm actually hopeful that that's the case because I think he's better down there right now. And it allows this lineup to get readjusted and reoriented. Right. And so, and you're right. Schanuel and Neto have actually been great without Mike Trout in the starting lineup batting third.
Now it is a day game. So what are the odds we just see Trout not in the game at DH, right?
Yeah,
it's going to
be another option as
Darno
well.
catching, Ohapi DH. That's probably what's going to happen. Speaking of Travis d'Arnaud,
how about this guy?
He had his moment. Now I know that there was a moment for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. where he went, oh, he's arrived. And even Torrey Hunter, oh, he's arrived. Now I know Travis d'Arnaud is not either of those two. He's not the big contract that the Angels signed with those two, but it is great to see a guy have his moment where maybe he's kind of arrived, right? Or at least in the Travis d'Arnaud version, it's, hey, he did something that we needed him to do, right? At the very least. So he comes in to pinch hit for Scott Kingery to lead off the 8th inning. And on the first pitch he saw, he hits a solo home run to tie this game. And you would have hoped that the momentum would stick there, but Neto grounded out, Schanuel singled, Trout flied out. Schanuel stole second, so there's a stolen base for my fantasy team. And then Ward struck out on the very next pitch after the stolen base, so the momentum didn't stick. But I do have to say, Travis d'Arnaud, what a hero he was, other than, of course, Nolan Schanuel walking it off the way that he did. By the way, I love that it fell in front of Denzel Clark to where he couldn't get the ball. Naturally, he's not going to get the ball, but it was like, all right, there you go. You got your win back, buddy. You just won the game for everyone, and you got your RBI. Unless that one doesn't count because it's the ghost runner. I don't know.
No, it's an RBI. Yeah, okay. It's kind of as an RBI,
but it's not an earned. It's not an earned run.
It's not an earned run. No, but it is an RBI, so he does get that. I love Travis d'Arnaud heating up and to have a backup catcher that actually can make an impact for us is great. And then also play great defense as well. And so obviously I think there's a whole conversation to be had about how often he's catching versus Logan Ohapi. I think that's part of why Ohapi is struggling, but I think you're probably right. We haven't seen the lineup yet, but I'm sure that it's going to be Ohapi catching and d'Arnaud or Ohapi DHing and d'Arnaud probably catching, right?
And it's Kyle Hendricks on the mound today. So
so it will be d'Arnaud for sure.
Yeah.
And then I could see Ohapi DHing and I could see Mike Trout not playing. Yeah.
Yep. Especially with Mike Trout's struggles. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, should the Angels do what the White Sox are doing? What the heck are you talking about? Well, we're going to tell you what they're doing. It has nothing to do with the play on the field. We're going to share that in our third segment. And we'll talk about the Halos hot hitting coming right up.
Checking that bank account and seeing maybe a negative balance or at least maybe just a zero balance. That's scary. And you don't want that. And that's why Monarch Money is a great support to you. They're your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. And let's be honest, you need some help when it comes to your finances. You need to track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place so you can stop managing your money and you can start building your wealth, because that would be great. That'd be great to think about that instead of thinking about, I don't have any money. What am I going to do, right? This macaroni and cheese ain't cutting it anymore. And so money conversations with your partner, smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all of the stress. Take control of your finances right now with Monarch Money. They're pleading with you. They're begging you to use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB when you go to their website, monarchmoney.com. You're going to get 50% off your first year. Again, monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, we've had some great offense over the last month or so, going all the way back to May 1st. Now, I know we had the 8-game win streak, the 5-game losing streak in there, and then we have 3 series wins in a row. And so the Angels, by the stats here, have actually picked it up pretty well since May 1st, and entering Tuesday night's game, we've got some good numbers, don't we?
Yeah. Joe Adell in 33 games has a 962 OPS with 10 home runs. Mm-hmm. Isn't it interesting that Joe Adell is the guy that you can get really mad at and then immediately forgive because he did something great offensively in the next inning? And I wonder if that might just be the story for Joe Adell this year and maybe for the future. I get the conversation that you've had on this show about moving him around and having him figure some things out. John, I would anticipate that this is kind of who he is, right? He's going to make some mental errors and mistakes. Maybe as he grows as a baseball player, matures as a human, that some of that will go away. But I wonder if he might be on the same trajectory that he was last season. Remember, first half, we were really frustrated with how he was playing defense in left field. And we had those conversations of like, Joe, just don't think, bro. Like, you just need to go and make a play. Right field, yes. And just go and make a play, bro. Like, stop thinking deeply about it. Like, go and make a play. And then what happened? He ended up being pretty incredible in right field and was a part of the Gold Glove conversation. And so wondering if maybe that's going to be the narrative for him. In order for the narrative to be that for him, though, they got to keep him in center field. None of this moving around, because I think that's probably the detriment to Joe Adell right now is you're just moving him around so much that he can't get used to the ball off the bat, especially at home. And if it is a hard place, like Jared Timms tweeted, if it's a hard place to read the ball off the bat, then let's let him get really used to a position instead of moving him around from spot to spot to spot, which goes back to the emphasis of what you said in the first segment. Like, it's time for Mike Trout to just DH. It's time to just go in that direction so that you're not moving Joe Adell from spot to spot to spot. They're not doing that to Taylor Ward, and Taylor Ward's putting up very neutral, according to the numbers, not bad numbers in left field. Now, eye test is very different, but his numbers say he's not bad over there. Yeah. Why? Because he's playing every day and he's not being moved into another position. So I think they need to move in that direction with Joe Adell as well.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot that we had that conversation last year. It was like, Joe, stop overthinking about what you're doing and just react. And as an athlete, who we know he's an incredible athlete. Yeah. When he just reacts, that's when he's on his game. And that's what happened in right field last year.
We even had the conversation of like, is it his head bobbing around? Like when he's running to get the ball? Like, remember we had that conversation. We're trying to find every reason. Why? Yeah. How come he misses it? What's going on? And I think I remember you bobbing your head going, maybe it's this.
Yeah, exactly. I remember doing that in right field, playing softball, right? Yeah. John, keep your head still, stupid.
Well, you're not a professional baseball player, so you get a lot of grace, right?
Yeah. You mentioned Taylor Ward.
Yeah.
And in 36 games since May 1st, he's got an 837 OPS, on base plus slugging, 12 home runs, Mike. And right now, it seems to be Taylor Ward's name of the game is extra base hits. And especially over the last couple of games, sometimes I just want a single. I just need a single. I just need a base hit. Yeah. And I literally had the thought last night of, is Taylor Ward even capable of a base hit right now because look, don't get me wrong. I love a double into the gap. I love a home run, but man, sometimes you just gotta put that ball in play and take your single, right? And so, that's an exaggeration. That's an overreaction. He is hitting the ball very, very well when he's making contact. But there's really, as everybody picks up each other when Taylor Ward might not have a great game, he's just streaky. He's a streaky guy. And when that happens, then you need your Nolan Schanuels to come through like you did last night.
Well, I think it's a perfect example of what we talked about in the first segment about this offense and how they didn't pivot or adjust last night. And Taylor Ward's an example of that. He's somebody like stop swinging for the fences and stop swinging for a double here. Yeah. Like what we need is just some contact. Even if it's a slow roller, make that defense move, make the pitcher move off the mound. Let's get them moving around a little bit so that they panic a little bit, and maybe perhaps it could go in our direction.
Yeah, they had those 4 consecutive misplays 2 nights ago with the 3 singles.
Yeah,
and here's the thing, Mike. Mitch Spence was throwing everything on the outside to right-handers. It was the sweeper away, the slider away. He would do the sinker in on the hands, but everything was the other side of the plate, and so. Take them the other way. Get that single the other way. And so you're right. I think that's just a lack of adjustment there.
I get being fooled on maybe the first couple of pitches, maybe the first couple of at-bats. But when he's doing it every single time, I mean, that's where like turn your body to right field and just smack it in. Like, what is he doing up there? But bat like Jose Bautista used to bat. Like he would have a wide open stance and then turn his whole body and swing. Like that's what you need to do in those situations. And making contact is important because Nolan Schanuel is an example of that. In 35 games entering last night, 785 OPS. Johnny is in a 126 weighted runs created plus, and he's doing exactly what we want him to do. He's making contact at key moments. He had 3 hits last night. Somebody that I love and have loved over at first base. I haven't been a part of the needs to hit for power. I've been a part of that. Dude, turn that lineup over because this lineup doesn't have Nolan Schanuels in it. And I think Schanuel is somebody that helps this lineup. I think helps this lineup turn over. I think he's actually a great benefit to Zach Neto at the leadoff spot. I think that's why Zach Neto has been hitting so well.
Yeah, Zach Neto's 36 games since May 1st, 774 OPS and 7 home runs entering Tuesday night's game. Mike, somebody I really miss is Yoan Moncada. Yeah, 22 games, an 891 OPS and 6 home runs. Man, the lineup is so much better with him in it. And I don't imagine he'll come back and hit where he was hitting before, or maybe he could, right? Yeah. But at the same time, he just extends the lineup, as we often talk about. You want that lineup to just be a 1 through 9 that feels intimidating no matter where you are in the lineup.
And I know we're talking about hitters, but John, I miss him on defense. He's so smooth.
Oh, yeah.
And he's so clean at third base. And Rengifo he looks like me at third base playing softball, just panics, right? And that's the thing that
taking stuff off your chest, like you did,
right? Acting like I know what I'm doing out there. But Moncada is just confident over there, and that's what I really miss about Moncada. We've talked a lot about Mike Trout on this show already since May 1st. Short amount of games, 10 games entering last night. 872 OPS with a 148 weighted runs created plus.
those numbers tell me, shut up, Mike and John. You don't know what we're talking about. Right. 872 OPS, 48% better than league average.
Here's the good news. His K percentage before his injury, 30%. Since returning, he's around 16%, and the MLB average is 22%. So that's really good news. John, question, just because we've had this conversation about hitting, and then we had somebody on Reddit that said, hey, you got to consider this. So what do you attribute this success to? Is it the hitting coach? Is it the players actually hitting their projections? Is it luck? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, well, I think part of it is hitting their projections. They were severely underperforming in that direction. We talked about how projections are very critical and very harsh, and the Angels weren't even meeting that standard. Normally you look at projections and you're like, come on, that guy can do better than, a 240 average, right? But then the Angels weren't even hitting that low benchmark for some of the guys that the projections were saying that they were going to hit. And so that was a problem. The second thing is this, and somebody, it was Kellen, an everydayer on YouTube, said, we were talking about Lamont Wade Jr. He said, do you really think that Lamont Wade Jr.'s swing can be fixed by somebody like Johnny Washington? And I responded and I actually said, here's the thing about Johnny Washington. Last year, he worked with Neto. He worked with Adele. He got them to ditch leg kicks and work on toe taps and all that stuff. He made them better hitters. And we discussed that over the offseason. Where Johnny Washington goes wrong is his one-size-fits-all approach and philosophy for each and every one of these guys. And so I think what you can see from perhaps the hitting coach and the offensive coordinator, as they call the other one, you can see guys like Nolan Schanuel making adjustments. How many times has he gone the other way, Mike? He's not pulling everything. His would-be home run that he got robbed of the other night was dead left center field. And so you see these guys making adjustments every now and then. There's some guys stuck in their ways, like Taylor Ward, but at the end of the day, you see Joe Adele laying off bad pitches down and away. You see Nolan Schanuel hitting things into the gap the other way. And that's the kind of stuff that you want to see from the hitters. I think that you can attribute the success to Johnny Washington in that sense. When he works individually with these guys, you're going to get much better results. It's what he did last year. It's what he said he was going to do when he got hired as the hitting coach. And that's what we need to see more of from Johnny Washington.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades at supplyhouse.com. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order products online. They have an easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources, latest product info. It's going to help you get the job done right. They have an inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400-plus top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need some help, Supply House offers expert support, industry-leading service. You're always going to talk to a real person. It's not AI. It's a real person that probably has had a lot of experience with HVAC and plumbing and electrical supplies. And if you're a trade pro looking for that extra edge, we know you are, their free Trade Master program is perfect for you. Offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order. Thousands of professionals are taking advantage of this. Now it's your turn. To join the free Trade Master program, visit supplyhouse.com/TM. And if you want to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks, use our promo code SH5, 5% off your first order when you check out at supplyhouse.com.
Mike, something happened with the White Sox last week that, for interested parties, especially Angel fans, kind of perked up everybody's ears a little bit. I think the consensus was, you can do that?
Yeah. Yep.
And we're going to tell you what that is. So the White Sox announced that they have entered a long-term investment agreement with billionaire Justin Ishbia.
Yep.
Ishbia. The agreement provides that from 2029 to 2023, Jerry Reinsdorf, the current White Sox owner, also owns the Chicago Bulls, will have the option to sell the controlling interest to Ishbia. After the 2034 season, Ishbia will have the option to acquire the controlling interest. So again, from 29 to 33, Reinsdorf has the option to sell. And then after that, Ishbia will have the option to acquire the controlling interest. In the event of any such future transaction, all limited partners of the White Sox would have the opportunity to sell to Ishbia at that time. Reinsdorf said, having the incredible opportunity to own the Chicago White Sox and be part of MLB for nearly 50 years has been a life-changing experience. I've always expressed my intent to operate the White Sox as long as I am able and remain committed to returning the franchise to the level of on-field success that we all expect and desire. Mike, some interesting circumstances. Why are we talking about this as Angel fans?
Yeah, here's the reason. And everydayers, you know this, but if you're new to the show, new to Angel fandom, Arte has expressed that the goal is to make money with this team, whether it's one penny over how much they spent. Now, he'd said this year that he's going to lose $50 to $60 million. Now, side note, we've talked about how much this team made last year, over I think $210 million, $220 million, right? So if he's going to lose $50 to $60 million this year, then that means that he's still up like $150 million in 2 years. that's some good cheddar, right? So that's some good bread, right? And we know that he's stingy with the payroll. He will go and spend on some of the big players, but then when it comes to surrounding the team with good players and minor league stuff, the narrative is that he doesn't really spend there. And Perry has really been, I think, the best GM in the Arte Moreno world in developing young players. We're seeing the example of that with Neto and Schanuel and Ohapi and some of the pitchers that are down in the minor leagues right now. But what if an investor decided to infuse this organization with some sort of money? Here's what's interesting. Arte's the single owner. So there's not other owners for this team. It's Arte's money and only Arte's money. You get an investor that perhaps invests, and let's say Arte has it for 10 more years, and then after 10 years, then the investor has the option to buy, Arte has the option to sell, but he's already invested in this team. John, that's an interesting thought. So couple questions. Would it work? What are the problems? and who could even be that potential investor?
Yeah. I don't know who would be the potential investor other than some of the names that came up during the first time this transaction, when Arte said that they were going to sell the team. Now, we've talked about Joe Lacob a lot. Now, the owner of the Rams came up, Kroenke, right? And so those are some names that always come up in this conversation. But I think the biggest thing here is, Mike, the fact that somebody wants to infuse the White Sox with more cash flow in order to make them better.
Yeah.
I don't know Ishbia's history. Maybe he's somebody who loves the team and is like, we got to make this team better. I want to be part of this, right? And that's really what it comes down to. If you make an investment like this, there's a small part of you that's like, I want to be part of this organization. I want to have some fun. I want to, and I think that's where Arte came from at the beginning.
Yeah.
But the game has outspent him. The game has outgrown him. The game has out-invested him, and it's passed him by, right? It was fun when you'd see him at spring training and hanging out and, yucking it up with fans and stuff. And I think, again, everything's passed him by. So when you have somebody who comes along and wants to make an investment, and again, this agreement gives Reinsdorf the chance to bail out in 2029 if he wants to, or he can hang on to it till 2033. And maybe that infusion of cash will make the White Sox good in that 4-year span. And then Jerry can be part of something special in Chicago. And then there's kind of a time limit on it, Mike. And maybe the benefit here for Arte Moreno especially is put a time limit on this thing. Like give us a date, give us a year, give us something to look forward to. Give us all right, 10 years from now, Arte's definitely out and we definitely have new ownership if they want it, right? And so I think that's the only question here is Ishbia has the option to acquire the controlling interest. If he doesn't want to do it after 2034, then perhaps it's all of the partners involved in the White Sox organization who would have, their interest and their controlling shares. But like you mentioned, it's just Arte, the sole proprietor. And so to have him have a partner of some sort who's willing to spend, who's willing to go to places that Arte Moreno has not been willing to go before, I think would be huge. And again, if you're going to make an investment like that, you're not going to do it just because, it's something to do. And I know billionaires can often do, it's just something to do.
Right.
But I think what I like about the idea of somebody like Joe Lacob is that they have a tie to Anaheim. They have a tie to the team, right? He worked at the stadium as a teenager. I think that's really cool. And so, there are certainly owners who are fans, not all of them, and probably more than not are not fans of baseball or their team. But if you're going to make an investment like this, whoever it is going to do it to benefit the team. You're not going to make this investment and then just let it continue to be what it is. You're going to set it up for future success, for future revenue, for future income. And the way you do that is investing in your minor leagues, investing in scouting, investing in development, all of the stuff that we have been lacking in the last 10 to 15 years. I think somebody would come along and make an infusion that would be really great for this Angel Club.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. You can find Game Night on the Locked On MLB channel on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and connect with Mike and I on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. I don't know. Sometimes I kind of just speak for me on Super Halo Bros on Twitter, but Instagram, we're both on there.
Yes.
Mike, what do we have on deck for Thursday's show? John,
does Zach Neto deserve an all-star selection? I think you and I would agree. I think everydayers agree. So what does he need to do? We're gonna share some thoughts and some things that he's thinking about when it comes to the All-Star game. It'd be great to have him represent the Angels, and we might even have a conversation about if other Angels might go to that All-Star game. We'll talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
I'm thinking about the ball hitting me at the third base. Oh, man, I was terrible over there.